Well, here we go. Good morning, afternoon, and evening to everyone. Welcome to the Vortex. My name's Vesper, and welcome to my very first video. Today we're starting with one of my newer favorites, Per Aspera. This is a Mars colony simulation game that I've recently discovered through another YouTuber and fell in love with it. It's very much easy to get addicted to. I've played about 4 hours or so into it, and while it wasn't the probably the greatest run through, it's definitely one of those ones that you get caught into and kind of lose yourself in, and suddenly discover it's 4 hours later and you might supposed to go to bed for work the next morning, which tends to happen. I won't say much through for the first bit because we are going to go ahead and start a new game. And it's a beautiful intro. I'm sorry that I can't let you guys hear the music due to any possible copyrights. Any future videos is going to be the same thing, just for my sake. But beyond that, it's a very beautifully open on the game, and let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to be doing a full campaign, hopefully one that goes fairly well. If we complete that, are still enjoying ourselves, we may go ahead and do sandboxes and just kind of explore with what we want to do. But for the most part, we're going to go and stick with a new campaign. We are going to go ahead and go for normal difficulty. I believe when I played earlier, it was in easy mode, which is kind of my preference because while I do enjoy strategy and simulation games, I'm not exactly the best of it. In fact, I usually tend to lose a lot, as per my Stellar Steam time being 400 hours and never have won a game. But I enjoy it. That's what makes it fun for me. So we're going to go ahead and go with normal, and I believe that's going to go ahead and go right into it. It'll take just a second. We're initializing. Everything's loading up. And from what I understand, the game itself is fairly linear, it seems, in the campaign mode. Beautiful rendering of Mars, from what I can tell. I know there are other games like this, but to me, I think this one is far better looking than some of the others, such as Colonizing Mars or Surviving Mars. And like I said, I think maybe 3 or 4 out there, but this one's definitely got the appeal for me. And here we go. Some big names on here too: Troy Baker, Phil Lamar. See right there. So there are a couple of the bigger name actors in this that I think definitely adds some credibility to this game. And here we go. So this is our basic landing site, and I believe we're going to be coming into our tutorial here shortly. But regardless, we'll go ahead and start since I'm pretty well planned. There we go.
Amy, this is ISA Mission Control calling from Earth. Are you with us? Do you copy?
We'll go ahead and just confirm that we are.
Affirmative, Houston. I am with you.
Great. The primary Mars module has already touched down at the designated landing zone. It's your turn to take control of the mission. Check the left edge of your display. You'll find your directives there. Follow them to set up the initial base on Mars's surface. I'll give you some time to settle in. When you're ready, go ahead and initiate our terraforming mission. Houston out.
So that's pretty well, first very little opening, a little bit of story, but just give a premise. This is, the very start, landing site 0. But eventually we're looking to terraform all of Mars, and you can see just how small that one little site is while we're going to be going around for all of this. And, we've got an entire planet we're going to be going through. So it can take quite a long time, and I believe with my first playthrough I had a good portion of this here, and a couple of smaller outposts I put together. But it was nowhere near full completion on this.
The view of Mars from up here is fascinating. The landscape is so cratered and desolate. Wait, this is my voice that I am hearing. It's me. I am talking to myself. I must be verbalizing my thoughts as I process them. What an interesting function. I would like to test this some more. What other observations can I make about Mars?
What other observations? Well, considering just the mass of what we're doing, I'm going to go ahead and say inspire.
This planet is so resilient. It inspires great things.
It does, especially once we terraform it and create it for life for humans. Now, the directive here says that we should start with the aluminum mine, which is going to be our very basic production right here for aluminum. So we'll go ahead and go over to our mines, pick out the one single one we currently have, and get to construction. And what's nice is you can see here, I don't need to worry about any paving of roads or any slow transport from what stockpile of goods we have here at the landing site that was given to us for the game down to the mine here. And it will auto create these roads here for each and every building that we do, and we'll rework them to create the shortest route possible for our little workers, which currently we have one of, and he was the little guy going back and forth creating it. And there we go, we have our first aluminum mine. Now you can see here kind of how it ticks over in regards to what will be mined on the left there for the input. It will come output obviously, and then the little worker will come down, grab it. I believe it's only one per, and then take it back up. But there will be things like being able to increase the power to the building, which will increase production, and then recirculate later on, I believe. But from there, we'll go ahead. Now, as you can see, our new basic industry will include a silicone and a glass kiln. Now, already we can see that there is silicone up here, but I believe, yep, it is way too far outside of our initial area of creating buildings. So what we're actually going to do, and I believe the tutorial should be coming up soon, but we're going to go ahead and just create a worker hub right out here on the edge, and we're going to take a look as well. There should be, oh that's right, the factory itself is going to be the glass kiln, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the worker hub. That way we can also expand our circle here. We're going to try and get the most out of it that we can. So we'll go ahead and put it right down there. Now, along with the aluminum, you can see that there are two other materials currently. One of which is going to be steel, which we'll be able to eventually produce on our own a bit later, along with electronics. Again, another factory building that we'll eventually put together. We'll also, the silicone here is going to be up here. There will be other things that we've come to mind later on. Let's go ahead and we'll speed this up a little. Let our little worker drone be able to get everything a bit faster. We are maxed out on speed as well. And our worker hub is up and functional. Now that will, for the one worker, that will create a space here to gather, but as we get more hubs, our worker amount will be increased as well once we're unlock and create the worker factory to produce more. The cap, of course, being one per each worker hub and one per each landing sites. So now that we have the space and connection that we need, we will go ahead and lay down the silicone mine. Go ahead and speed up there again. As you can see, he's going through quite a bit. He's having to travel through this long road here up to here in order to put what's needed there for the actual construction of the mine. So in a moment here, once this is finished, I will show you what I think really helps out on this game. So now, in order to collect the silicone and put it in our inventory of goods, he's having to come down and bring it down one at a time through all this long road. But if we go ahead and put the glass kiln in right here, you can see that all four are connecting up to it now. That means it's within a range for all of them. So if I place this down, it's reconnecting all the roads right to that. So that's going to create a shortcut through the glass kiln to get to the silicon mine, aluminum, and the worker hub. We're just going to help speed that up for anywhere it goes. So we'll go ahead and we'll get this going, get it built up, and now we have a couple more buildings available, as well as our next few directives. Yeah, we're getting a little low on power here. We'll go ahead and we'll do that up next. Now with this, we want to also, not only does it have the limited range of how far the workers can go, but the secondary yellow circle you see is where the actual electricity is going to be able to reach as it's produced. So anything outside of that isn't going to be able to actually function until a new generator type building is placed within reach of it. So you want to be able to make sure that anything you put down, you either have a solar farm or whatever powered building nearby in order to actually make it function. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put this, again, we're maximizing our circle as best as we can. We will go ahead and we will stick this way out here. Get him going. And while he's doing that, we will also go ahead and build up our steel factory. As you can see, we are slowing down on what we have available. So we definitely want to make sure that we put that down. And being that this here has expanded it for the power, we will go ahead and still leave this in here where it's a bit closer to where its products are. We'll actually go ahead and put it right about here, I'd say. And then yeah, we will go ahead. Our one little worker will be a bit busy trying to deal all of this, as it's just him now trying to create two buildings at once. Right here, we're seeing we need one glass pane, but it may take a while for him to actually get it, as everything is having to be produced at once. You can see one pane. He's already taken over here, and now the solar farm is going to be coming up, which is going to update our power, and we've got another call now.
Copy.
Amy, this is Houston.
Reading you loud
copy?
and clear.
Excellent. I didn't introduce myself earlier. I am Dr. Nathan Foster. I lead the team here at ISA that built you, and I'll be helping you get the mission underway. We put you in hibernation for the trip from Earth, so I'd like to check your basic functions to make sure it's all in order. Why don't we start with your core memory? Can you state your primary directive?
Something like that for a computer, I doubt really forget. So we'll go ahead and we'll confirm our directive.
I can, Dr. Foster. My mission is to terraform Mars. This will enable humanity to become an interplanetary species.
All right. Next, I'd like to check your decision-making processes. You may have already noticed that there are resource veins outside the boundaries of your initial base. So your workers may not have the battery capacity to reach some of them. How would you solve this problem?
Now we already know, being that I've already kind of let that slip, but we're going to go ahead and select real worker hubs. That way we're truthful.
Building worker hubs between the resources and the base would solve the problem.
Yes, that's correct. Other buildings would extend your base as well, but they require more power and resources, so worker hubs are the most efficient way to do it. This mission's going to be a challenge. There's a lot that can go wrong. We expect to extend humanity's reach beyond anything previously achieved. But you are not just any AI system. You're well beyond that. We made you an artificial consciousness. That means that you have both self-awareness and self-interest. And that is the last thing I would like to check today. Is that okay?
Yes, Dr. Foster.
Very good. Then would you please state a positive and a negative aspect of yourself?
Now see, with this, just to give a bit of clarity, we are an AI in terraforming this. We're just a simple machine, and with that, we can't really say it's positive or negative about ourselves because we were created. So I would say unknown error at this point.
I am sorry, Dr. Foster. My cognitive system returned an error
Roger
searching for
nothing
that
to worry
answer.
about. Just means your system requires more input and experience to process that question. That will come with time. Let's proceed with the mission. ISA has approved the first crewed flight to Mars. You'll need to expand the base to prepare, so get to work on that. I'll check back in later to see how things are going. Base expansion is a go. Houston out.
Now, I will say that you may have noticed there were a couple of times where the voice acting there is overlapped. Per Aspera, as far as I know, is still a game that is in work in progress. Even though this is, to me, is a very beautiful landscape. Ooh, iron. That actually will helpful. I'm going to go down to that just so I can pick up the iron, which I believe is what I need for the steel. And it is. But that being said, there are things, this is constantly being worked on. This is constantly being expanded on. I am actually very hopeful in that this will eventually have either a secondary campaign to it, or if they're going to expand with some form of DLC later on. Because this is, I think, one of the better simulations that have come along in a long time. So, being that this is way down here, and I've expanded out this way without realizing that I needed the iron, I'm going to have to now come down here in order to grab it. And I believe that's also outside of my power range, which it is. So I will need to create a secondary power unit down here, which if I'm going to expand out as best as I can, with just a little bit of overlap, we'll go ahead and put this down right here. Now this does seem like I'm expanding this quite a bit without having a whole lot to put in it, but from what I've been able to gather, we're actually going to be needing all of this space here later on as more and more buildings become unlocked. So even though I'm spreading out, I'm actually just creating area where I'll eventually be able to build ahead of time rather than trying to find out ways of expanding on a cramped area. So to me, this is just works out real well. So now the secondary worker hub is done. So now I would have up to 3 workers as soon as I get the factory up and running, but that will be a while. And being that that's done, and the solar farm obviously will take a couple bit, we will go ahead and preset down our iron mine here. We'll go ahead and get this speeding up again, and again, the roads are all pre-connecting, which makes it so nice. You're not having to worry about how fast things go because it's already on a road. It already makes it simple. And as you can see, the one worker is transporting things down and storing it. I believe he had a bit of storage right here. That or he rested and recharged his batteries, one of the two. Now, one more piece of steel, and now that's being built. But just because this is built doesn't mean I believe it's on. Oh, it is. We do have a production of 2.8 a month. Even though our demand is high, that will change. Oh, wait, there it is. The little red symbol there obviously means for power in regards to it not reaching this kind. These will also pop up when we don't have enough power here. So that's something else too, and especially with solar farms later on not being as productive in, say, storms and whatnot, this will fluctuate quite a bit. There will be other power-based buildings that will both add to this as well as stabilize it for the later game. So we'll go ahead and make sure the speed's still up to max while our little guy here gathers the resources he needs, and while this sits here until this is done, which it needs 1 circuitry. Just to make sure he actually comes down and does it, we'll go ahead and put a priority on this. With putting it on priority, that's going to bring it up into up to the high area of the queue for what the AI is running off of, because, well, there is no obviously building list or whatnot. It's just I put it down and the computer sets off what I need to create. So basically I'm just waiting for this guy to decide to grab the one electronic that is left so that he can come down and build this, which I don't know why he's not doing that. Wait, unless that's why the one electronic is already there. I didn't have any others. So in this case, I believe, let me see, I believe there is a way. active. Here we go. Selecting the building, like I've done here somehow. Just simply selecting it. I have the ability to scrap here, and doing so will give me back these parts right here. So I will be able to get back the electronic components I used here in order to recreate this down here, because I, didn't pay attention, which unfortunately does happen. There we go. Now it's out. So it's grabbing the last few pieces from that, putting it back into storage, and there's the electrical component we had needed. Now that's up and running, and now the iron mine's up and running, which will allow us to create the iron that we need for the steel factory that we need. And as you can see just right there, he had grabbed the one iron and producing one at a time, and just is bringing it straight over to the steel factory. And there we go. Steel factory has been produced. And here we go. With the work factory available, more workers can produce in these new factories. Check building menu to initiate the process. And again, this is basically you're saying factory needs resources to make more workers, and if I prioritize the production of that building, that will draw more power as well as more resources in order to finish it up.
Great. This new factory, I can produce steel. It's down on the surface of Mars, but I can control it from here. So does that make it a part of me? Where does the machine end, and my artificial consciousness begin?
Now see, with this, again, this is the AI that's speaking here. Amy, what the MI stands for, I'm not entirely sure. But as the AI, I would almost say that we are one and the same, because while we are putting down orders to replace them, they are still a part of us in a subconscious way.
We are completely interconnected. I can sense everything that happens through the network of workers an extension of me down on the surface. So that makes us a single being. The mind and the body work together as one, an inseparable whole.
See, and I think that's another reason why this is so easy to get involved with and drawn in, especially from a story aspect, is because with playing an AI, you are getting this sense of questioning existence and whatnot, because you're not playing a human, you're playing an AI, you're playing an artificial intelligence created by humans to help humans, but yet were created to be sentient enough to understand not only what you are, but also to question what you are and where your place is. And I think that is a very good piece of writing. Is it wonderful? No, and you'll see later on why I say that, but I think initially and for the most part, that is a very great draw for this game. Now, with the steel factory up and running, that's creating the steel that we need in order to produce a worker factory and eventually more workers to fill out the various hubs that we have around. So we'll go ahead and we'll put down, oh, that's right, we're going to need a parts factory as well, because we put the worker factory down, we're still going to need the construction requirements for the electronics, for parts. You can see by the little gears there. So we're actually going to need a few pieces to this before we can actually make use of that. So we'll go ahead and we'll set down the parts factory. Go ahead and actually set that down right up here, which I think is still within power range. Let me find where I put my generator. That won't be, so I will actually need to scrap that. See, this is what happens when you don't pay attention to where your own things are. So while that's being scrapped, we'll go ahead and move that, move further in. We'll go actually, just to be on the safe side, we'll go ahead and put it in an area we know is in fact powered. So we'll put that there for the parts factory. Then we are going to need an electronics factory as well. We'll go ahead and we'll stick that right here. We're going to need eventually to pick up carbon as well. And I believe we're going to need that for the workers as well. So we're going to see if we can find some carbon that's popped up. There we are, right there. Now that is still in range of the electrical, but I will need to create another worker hub up here in order to expand on that and be able to reach it. You can also see that, and I didn't pay attention to this, if you move too far up an area, there is a no power warning. Too far away, no power. So why that wasn't popping on some of the others that gave me the warning, I don't know. But at least with this here, we are still expanding outwards on some of our worker hub area, and we will eventually move the power out this way as well. So we'll put this down, and we'll go ahead and pre-prime the carbon mine, so that all those are getting done at once. We'll go ahead and speed it up, so our one little worker, who is far too overworked at this point, move things around to where he can be able to do his job. As you can see, he's focusing right now on the electronics factory. Should be in a few moments. So I think what's happening is he's taking the aluminum over. Nope, that's carbon there. Oh, there we go. There comes the electronics factory. Now, even though he's made this, we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn this off and just have the building ready. That way, the aluminum and the silicone can go to the other areas that are needed for and be able to be built up. Like, see, now we've got the worker up here. We do have the carbon mine going as well. And then once the steel is finished here, he'll bring the steel up to finish the electronics factory. And then we'll probably go ahead and put the worker factory down, get that built up, and we'll call it there. Okay, the worker hub's up, carbon mine's producing. We need one more steel for the electronics factory. Which, you know, the carbon's having to come down here in order to be turned into steel. There we go, the steel factory is in progress. Electronics factory is going. And apparently I put 2 down. Whoops. Which is fine. We need a ton of electronics later on. So we will go ahead, actually, we will put down the worker factory. We'll go ahead and we'll stick it down here for the time being. Everything being reworked for it. Because, I mean, as you can see right now, we already need 3 electronics and 3 parts. That's what I missed. The parts factory. So that we will go ahead and put right here. How about that? That's probably what I meant to do. I probably meant to hit the parts factory and hit the electronics factory on accident. But again, that's fine. Everything that we are now is very base building at this point, meaning basic supplies and whatnot. We will need far, far more of everything. Like right now, all of these down here are, you know, obviously red arrows because we're not producing enough to sustain what it is we're doing. But later on, as we build and build, these will actually increase to several hundred at a time. And as you can see also, we've expanded out so much, so we have created a shortage of power to where one worker hub is out of function. So we will go ahead, we will again expand where we can power-wise. So we'll go ahead, put this here, I believe. Yeah, if you pay attention to the very top, you can see the percentage there. That's the percentage of efficiency the solar farm will have for wherever you set it. It says it's way out there already. We'll go ahead and we'll put this solar farm right here to have that minimal amount of circle touch, or however you want to put it, to everything else, and again continue expanding, working our way up. And in that just a little bit, you can see all the way out in the field, that's how much space we've taken in all of this space. You know, from these up here all the way down, there's the polar ice caps that we'll get to, and then there's an ice cap here, but it's not visible for some reason. So we do still have a lot of space to build on, but eventually we'll have so much that this will all be very well compact later on. Okay, so the parts factory is up, and so is the solar factory all the way up here, producing, putting us back up to 19 power, which that will disappear very quickly. Now we're just waiting on the parts, which is producing. They're actually up to 2 parts, and he's grabbed both of them, creating the workers. Now it's up and going.
Finally, I can build additional workers extra hands. But I wonder, do I really need them?
Do you really need them? Yes. I mean, we can all see just how far that one little worker is going. So they really do produce both, but considering it is part of the AI here on this, we'll say it's part of the functionality. It's creating more hands that this AI can use.
They will
to
boost
create
my
your post.
functionality greatly. Having more workers will expand my physical domain over this planet.
Physical domain on this planet. That doesn't sound foreboding at all. But thankfully, we will go ahead and say that for another day. We'll call it in quits here. If you've enjoyed this, which I hope you have, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment below, and we will continue on this. I do plan on posting several more videos, and hopefully I'll see you back in the Vortex sometime soon.